Ready? Okay, break. It's time for the High School Huddle. Your host, Jordan Hirsh, is getting set to break down all the action on the local gridirons in Bucks and Mercer Counties. Stats, conversation, inside analysis. It's all here on the High School Huddle, proudly brought to you by the Capital Health System and Anthony Petsis and Associates right now on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM.
Welcome into another installment of the High School Huddle. I am your host, Jordan Hirsh, here on the final Thursday of October. Halloween is tomorrow, and you know what that means for high school football in Bucks and Mercer County. It's playoff time, baby, and we've got a lot of postseason action to get to in this show, not only in Bucks County, but in Mercer County as well. A lot of our local teams have qualified for some Central Jersey tournaments. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk to the head coach of the Hopewell Valley Bulldogs, Dave Caldwell, a little later on. We're going to talk to the head coach of the Hamilton West Hornets, Mike Papero, in just a little bit. Both of those two schools have qualified for the postseason. Hamilton West back in the playoffs for the first time since 2019. Hopewell Valley, they seemingly get in every single year. But first, like we always do on this show, we got to start on this side of the Delaware River and start with those Neshaminy Skins. Let's first, before we talk about what they're going to be doing in the postseason tomorrow, let's talk about what they did last week in their rivalry game against Pennsbury. Last week, Neshaminy grounded the Falcons for the first time since 2021. They had a 35-14 dominating win against Pennsbury. The Skins offense slashed through the vaunted Falcon defense, scored the most points against Pennsbury of any opponent this season, and it's the most Neshaminy has scored against the Falcons since 2018. This was a tight game at halftime. Neshaminy was clinging to a 14-7 lead. The teams traded touchdowns on the first three overall drives. Carter Klee found the end zone on the opening drive. The Skins set the tone for the night, marching right down the field, 68 yards. They did whatever they want against that Pennsbury defense on the first drive. Falcons would respond with a long touchdown drive of their own. It was capped off by the first of two Luke Bagley touchdown runs. It was extended by some poor Neshaminy penalties, also some critical third down conversions. That knotted the score at 7. Then on the ensuing Neshaminy drive, Michael Eckert found Carter Klee on a 21-yard screen pass. The running back did the rest. He was real physical all night long. Skins took that 14-7 lead. Neshaminy had opportunities to extend the lead before halftime, but fumbles by Brock Williams and Michael Eckert, and Eckert's came inside the 5-yard line right before the half. That kept Pennsbury in the game. But out of the break, it was the Mike Sassano show. Sassano hauled in a pair of touchdown catches from 11 yards out, that one being on a fourth down play. Also from 28 yards out in the third. He made a pair of interceptions in the quarter as well. One of them he returned 45 yards to the house for a pick six. Pennsbury, they got a late touchdown by Bagley that made the score look a little more respectable. But this was a real Neshaminy beatdown from start to finish. The Skins, they were denied a share of the SOL National Division title because Penridge, they went on to beat CB South last week. Neshaminy actually ended up dropping a spot in the PIAA District 1 6A rankings. They will enter the tournament as the 11 seed, and that sets up a rematch with Central Bucks West. But before we talk about that game, let's take a look at the stats from last week real quick. Michael Eckert, 19 of 24, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also got his running game back going up to speed. 9 carries for 97 yards. He eclipsed 2,000 passing yards on the season in this game. Carter Klee, only 5 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown, but added 4 catches for 58 yards and a score as well. Brock Williams continued to be utilized heavily, 6 catches for 49 yards. Nick Sassano had a deep ball catch for 43 yards. Of course, we talked about the big game that his brother Mike had. 5 catches, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and that pick 6. Carson Schneider led the way in tackling on defense with 10 of them, including a tackle for loss. Milo Makes put up 3 TFLs. As a team, the Neshaminy defense had 11 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. Lucas Stewart got 1, and then Corey Kenoy-Webb and Owen Schwartz combined on another. But now, let's go to this week, because tomorrow, Neshaminy is preparing for a first-round matchup with the CB West Bucks at 7 o'clock. You can catch this game on WBCB Sports on YouTube. I will be on the call from Central Bucks West. Neshaminy handed CB West one of their 2 conference losses with a 28-18 victory at home. That was back on September 26th. That ended a 4-game losing streak against Central Bucks West. It also snapped the Bucks' streak of 19 wins in their last 20 games against SOL National Division opponents. That streak had dated all the way back to 2022. In the Max Preps era, these two teams, they've met just one time in the postseason. Neshaminy defeated CB West 38-34 way back on November 13th, 2004, which is the first year of the Max Preps era. That was way back when there were only 4 classes instead of 6. Neshaminy that season went all the way to the Class 4A title game. They fell to Pittsburgh Central Classic in that one. Or Catholic, Pittsburgh Central Catholic in that one. In much more recent history, let's take a look at some of the numbers when these two teams met just 34 days ago. Eckert, 11 of 17, 2 touchdowns in that game, 117 yards, but 16 carries for 127 yards. I should say 177 yards, not 117 yards for Eckert through the air. And then that big game on the ground with those 16 carries, 127 yards, 2 touchdown runs, including one from 72 yards out. Carter Klee, 16 carries in that game, 65 yards, 2 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown. If you'll remember, Bobby Lagler had the big play in that one. 1 catch, but it was an 83-yard big play touchdown in the first quarter in that one. Mike Sassano, 2 catches, 28 yards, 10 tackles on defense. That was Lucas Stewart's first game back since week 1 when he suffered an injury. He came back with 3 catches for 21 yards. Carson Schneider had the game-sealing interception with under 2 minutes left. Dan McGarity, Corey Kenoy-Webb, Owen Schwartz each recorded a sack. McGarity had 3 tackles for loss. Neshaminy forced 3 turnovers in that game, including a fumble on the opening kickoff. But since that loss, CB West, they've been on a roll. Their only loss since then came on the road against North Penn, and the Knights have been perhaps the hottest team in the entire SOL the second half of the season. But the Bucks, they've picked up statement wins over Penridge, and then last week against Central Bucks East, finished the season with an identical record as Neshaminy, 7-3 overall, 4-2 in divisional play. The last 2 seasons, Central Bucks West, they've lost in this tournament's semifinals, both times against the eventual champion, Downingtown West last year, Central Bucks South in 2023. They've been to the semifinals 3 consecutive years overall. They have not lost a first-round game since 2017. They are 5-0 in the first round in this District 1 6A tournament during that span. But looking at a scouting report for the Bucks, this is going to be really the first pass-heavy team that Neshaminy has faced since they last faced them back on September 26th, led by junior quarterback Louis Sapalo, who was pretty quiet in the passing game in late September at Heartbreak Ridge. He did rip off 13 carries for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns, had a 48-yard run that answered the 72-yard run from Michael Eckert. Running back / linebacker Nick Mileto, he's a force on both sides of the ball. He's one of the more physical running backs in the area and also a hard-hitting linebacker. He's among the team's leaders in tackling. Neshaminy did a pretty good job keeping him under wraps in week 6. Also have to deal with a senior linebacker or senior defensive lineman, Jeff Kappa. He's the leader on that D-line. He's a returning All-SOL National Division selection. Like I mentioned, the Bucks have those signature wins over Central Bucks South and Penridge this year. And despite having that 19 of 20 streak that I mentioned earlier in this one snapped against Neshaminy the last time these two teams met, they've still won 22 of their last 25 games against Suburban 1 League National Division opponents. This is their first season with multiple SOL National Division losses since that 2022 season. Neshaminy, they seemed to get their passing game back rolling last week after a hiccup against CB South. The two things they did not fix in the game against Pennsbury, though, that were the turnovers and the penalties. Neshaminy has now committed 5 turnovers in the last 2 games, including 4 fumbles, and they've committed some real costly penalties, really, in recent games as well, but especially against the Falcons last week. And a team like Central Bucks West probably would have taken advantage of a lot of those penalties that maybe Pennsbury could not have last week in that game. I think this is one of the more evenly matched first-round games in this tournament, and self-inflicted wounds could very well be the deciding factor tomorrow night. I mean, heck, they were a huge part of that Week 6 game, if you'll remember. Neshaminy, they were certainly the cleaner of the two teams in that one, although both teams, they did commit a lot of penalties. Central Bucks West committed 9 penalties in that game. Neshaminy, they committed 10. Central Bucks West gave up 59 yards because of those 9 penalties. Neshaminy, they gave up 64 yards, but really the biggest difference when you think about self-inflicted wounds, Neshaminy, they won the turnover battle in that game 3-0. Neshaminy this season, when they commit fewer than 2 turnovers, they're undefeated. They're 6-0, and they are just 1-3 when they commit 2 or more. So keeping good care of the football is going to be very key for Neshaminy in this one. Now let's real quick before we go to break here and talk about the New Jersey side of things and talk about all the brackets and all the games that we've got going on over in the West Jersey Football League this week and tomorrow. It's going to coincide with our Neshaminy coverage as well. Let's take a look at this District 1 6A bracket. It's a really good bracket. Lots of very good teams. Like I mentioned, I think Central Bucks West and Neshaminy in this 11-6 matchup might be the most evenly ranked. Going from top to bottom across this bracket, it'll be number 1 Penridge taking on number 16 Plymouth Whitemarsh. A game that goes off tonight. The only game going off tonight in this bracket is the 8-9 matchup. Number 8 Downingtown East taking on number 9 Springford. Number 4 Coatesville hosts number 13 Perkiomen Valley. Number 5 Council Rock South. You can check them out on our high school coaches roundtable from last night from Sandy's Beef and Ale. Council Rock South, they've had one heck of a season. They're the 5 seed playing against number 12 Haverford. Number 2 North Penn, thanks to their late season surge, they're going to host Boyertown. 7th ranked Satterton goes up against number 10 Ridley. The reigning District 1 6A champions, Downingtown West, they're the 3 seed. They play against O&J Roberts. The winner of that game will face the winner of this Central Bucks West and Neshaminy tilt. All right, we've done our talking now about Neshaminy. When we come back, we'll talk about all the games going on in the West Jersey Football League. A lot of Central Jersey action going on the other side of the river. We'll also talk to head coach Dave Caldwell of the Hopewell Valley Bulldogs and Mike Papero, the head coach of the Hamilton West Hornets. All that and more when we come back right here on the High School Huddle. Today's show is proudly sponsored by Anthony Petsis and Associates, voted the best financial advisory firm in Bucks County for 13 years by the Bucks County Courier-Times. Anthony Petsis and Associates delivers people-centered advice, empowering you to take control of your financial future with confidence. Their firm is committed to helping your family build and preserve wealth for the next 100 years. If you're interested in becoming a client of the top-rated financial advisory firm in Bucks County, please contact Anthony Petsis and Associates at 215-968-6638. That's 215-968-6638. You can also visit their website at apetsis.com. Anthony Petsis and Associates. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor and locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org.
You're listening to the High School Huddle on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. The High School Huddle is proudly brought to you by the Capital Health System and Anthony Petsis and Associates. Now back to your host, Jordan Hirsh.
Welcome back to the High School Huddle. I am your host, Jordan Hirsh. Just finished up talking about the Neshaminy Skins, the number 11 seed in the PIAA District 1 Class 6A tournament. They're taking on 6th-ranked Central Bucks West tomorrow at 7 o'clock on WBCB. But now it is time to transition over into the New Jersey side of things because we've got 5 separate teams playing in postseason tournaments on the other side of the Delaware River. Let's talk about the Central Jersey Group 3 bracket first. 2 local teams doing battle in that bracket in this tournament. The first one being Hopewell Valley, the number 4 seed. They take on number 5 Neptune tomorrow at 6 o'clock. You can catch that game on WBCB. And for Hopewell Valley, we know the Bulldogs feature one of the more prolific offenses in the West Jersey Football League. They scored 30 or more points 5 times this season. They were one of just 10 WJFL teams to score over 300 points this season. But all that being said, I think the key for them in this game, and the key for them to make a deep playoff run, it's going to be their defense. That's where most of their experience lies, and in turn, that's where most of their postseason experience lies. Guys like Carter Horvath, Lucas Hemmer, Jude Berman, Ryan Otterbray, the Barker brothers, Ethan and Gavin, they're going to have to step up if Hopewell wants to make a deep playoff run, and they're hoping that all of that will start tomorrow against Neptune. Now, of course, for the Valley, Hopewell, their offense still incredibly important to their success. Capital Division champions for the 2nd consecutive year. They want to establish that run game early and often tomorrow night, especially with the way that junior running back Ethan Valenza has played these last 2 weeks. He's found his groove from the beginning of the season. He eclipsed the 1,000 rushing yard mark in a 5-touchdown performance against Heightstown last week. He's rushed for over 100 yards in each of the last 2 games with 6 total tutties. Last week, Grayson Vlasic also went over 100 yards through the air for the first time since October 3rd in the Seneca game. And we've certainly seen another member of that Vlasic family put up some real impressive postseason performances in multiple sports over the years in John Michael Vlasic. So for that Bulldog offense, getting Valenza going early, that's a huge key. If they can't do that, I think Vlasic might have to be a little more than a game manager in this one. I think he might have to put up some big numbers if, of course, they can't get Valenza going. As for their opponent in Neptune, they had a very similar season as Hopewell Valley. They also lost their Week 0 game by the score of 35-28, but they then ripped off 8 consecutive wins. They captured the Shore Conference D North Division crown. They're led by one of the most stingy defenses in the Shore Conference. They allow just 11.6 points per game. They've only given up 20 points one time since their season opener against Freehold Township. And despite being a Shore Conference team, the Scarlet Flyers, they didn't face the most difficult schedule this year, though. None of their opponents finished with more than 5 wins. Their toughest game was probably their 13-7 Week 1 win against Red Bank Regional. We're going to talk about the Buccaneers in just a little bit. They're going up against Steinert in the Central Jersey Group 4 bracket. But like Hopewell, Neptune features a very fearsome rushing attack. They're led by junior quarterback Caleb Brown, rushed for 1,068 yards and 10 touchdowns this year. Kingston Pinnock is another force in the run game, 88 carries, 605 yards, and 10 touchdowns for him. But the real talent on this team lies on their defense. They accumulated a mind-boggling 33 sacks this year, including 10 by Cohen Johnson, 5 by Shaborn Allen, and 4 by Mike McLennan. In total, 8 different players recorded multiple sacks, including a player by the name of Haseen McMillian, who also hauled in 4 interceptions. And then Neptune's run defense, perhaps even more frightening. They had 125 tackles for loss this year. That's an average of nearly 14 per game. Hopewell's offensive line is certainly going to have their hands full. They're going to have to keep Vlasic protected and open up enough holes in the run game for Valenza tomorrow night. That will be the Bulldogs' best chance at finding success. And all in all, I think this really seems like a very even matchup. Again, Hopewell and Neptune, the 4-5 game in the Central Jersey Group 3 quarterfinals. We'll have that for you on WBCB Sports tomorrow at 6 o'clock. But keeping it in the Central Jersey Group 3 quarterfinals, number 6 Ewing, number 3 Seneca tomorrow at 6 o'clock. For the first time since 2021, a year that they also went 5-0 in Valley Division play and won the outright title, Ewing is back in the playoffs, and now they're going to be looking for their first playoff win since 2016. Led by first-year head coach Al-Majid Hutchins, who's just unlocked this Blue Devil offense. They averaged 37.7 points per game during their 7-game win streak to close the regular season. Ryan Gregg has blossomed into one of Mercer County's best quarterbacks. He threw for over 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns this year. And of course, it helps when you have 3 explosive threats in the run game, or in the receiving game, rather. Nadir Ginyard, Sam Simpkins, and Chris Thomas. Also running back Josh Missick, who just barely got over that 1,000-yard mark last week in a 30-24 wild win against Hamilton West. But this Ewing offense, they can fly, they can create big plays, and they're going to have to be on their A-game facing a Seneca defense that, very similarly to Neptune, they allowed only 20 points or more twice this season. As for Ewing's defense, they were a little hit or miss at times this year. Against non-playoff teams, they allowed only 10.7 points per game, but against playoff teams, including Princeton, despite the Little Tigers not qualifying for the postseason because of 3 ejections they would have been in if it wasn't for those ejections, they allowed 23.5 points per game against those opponents. Ewing's battle-tested as well. They didn't just coast to this 7-2 record. 6 of the teams they faced this year, again including Princeton, qualified for the playoffs. 2 of them were Group 1 schools in Kip Academy and Burlington City. And that being said, though, Seneca's probably the toughest team they're going to face all year. We're going to break them down in just a second. But if you remember from our first show of October, when Hopewell Valley faced the Golden Eagles, it's their quarterback, Anthony Tirico. He's one of the best in the state. And this season, he passed and ran for over 1,000 yards and 25 total touchdowns. Enters this game 46 passing yards away from 5,000 for his career. The number one goal for that Ewing defense has to be to contain Tirico. Hopewell Valley did a good job in their Week 5 win. Now it'll be on the Blue Devils to do the same. As for Seneca, they came very close to a perfect regular season. Finished at 7-2 with a pair of 1-score losses. Of course, the one against Hopewell Valley on October 3rd. Also lost 14-11 against Haddonfield on September 19th. Their schedule wasn't nearly as daunting as Ewing's. Their 32-6 win against Pleasantville in Week 2, probably the most impressive victory. It was their only win against a team that finished over 500 for the reigning South Jersey Group 3 runner-ups. Golden Eagles defense, they don't feature the gaudiest of numbers. Only 11 team sacks and only 1 player in junior linebacker or junior defensive lineman Christian Alexander he's the only one with more than 2. Also forcing 10 takeaways, a respectable number, but nothing that'll really, be eye-popping for that Seneca defense. They make most of their money on offense. Junior quarterback Anthony Tirico, on top of those nearly 5,000 career passing yards, also went over 7,000 career total yards late this season. Junior running back Brody Phillips averaged over 8 yards a carry on the ground. And then Gabe Atz, Nate Sauerwald, and Kingston Williams, they anchor an electric passing attack. 3 of those guys combined for 54 catches, 988 yards, and 10 touchdowns. I think this game has all the makings of a shootout between Seneca and Ewing. All right, now let's cross over into the Central Jersey Group 4 bracket, where tomorrow at 6:30, we're going to have this game for you on WBCB Sports. Number 5 Steinert traveling down 195 and then up the Garden State Parkway a bit to face number 4 Red Bank Regional in the quarterfinals. And for the second straight year, Steinert back in the postseason. But this Spartan team, they didn't just sneak in. They're here to make a run. The playoffs is where you need your stars to show up. Isaac Pate, he's probably going to have the game of his life for Steinert to advance in this one. The biggest knock on the Spartans is that they can be very one-dimensional at times, but when that one dimension is Isaac Pate, I guess that's not really the worst position to be in. Like I said last week on Friday Night Hype, I do have trouble trusting one-dimensional teams in the postseason. But then at the same time, Isaac Pate, he's one of the best running backs in the county, if not the best. And he could very easily carry the Spartans to a win. On defense, the Spartans, they're certainly big enough to match up with a Shore Conference team like RBR. Gabe Penabach, Jomel Kaparwe, and Nate Horchuk, all forces on the defensive line. And then behind them in the secondary, they've got Makai Blackstone and Quinyon Simmons, who have combined for 5 interceptions this year. They've got the ability to shut down talented passing attacks. Oftentimes in matchups between Mercer County teams and Shore Conference teams, you'll see the Shore Conference team win, mainly because they're just bigger and more physical. But in this matchup, I don't think Steinert really has that problem. They've got some beef on that defensive line and offensive line as well. But now taking a look at Red Bank Regional, they've been a tough team to figure out all year. They're 5-3. Their 3 losses are at Neptune, at Manasquan, and at home against Middletown South. All those teams qualified for the postseason. 3 of their wins are against Colts Neck, Ocean Township, and Long Branch. Those teams are a combined 6-21, but they also have a 1-point win over Shore High School. They're the number 2 seed in the Central Jersey Group 1 bracket, and have a 27-18 win against Matawan, who are the 7 seed in Central Jersey Group 3. They're averaging 26.4 points per game in their wins, just 10.7 in their losses. They don't have a real standout player offensively. Junior quarterback Brett Laud is 75 of 159, 956 yards, 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, not very mobile. Top running back, senior Matt Huss, has 153 yards, 153 carries, 660 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Perhaps their biggest threat would be their wide receiver, Ari Frazier, who has 34 catches for 375 yards and 6 touchdowns. They make their money on defense. They've collected 25 team sacks. 15 of them have come from seniors Jameer Lane Bailey and Bennett Lopez. This defense, they're very heavy in the front 4. They forced 14 fumbles this year and recovered 7 of them. This seems like another game where it's really strength on strength. It's a Steinert team. They want to run. And then this Buccaneers squad who wants to outmuscle you with their defensive line. Again, this game is tomorrow at 6:30 on WBCB Sports. And now let's keep it again in the Central Jersey Group 4 bracket. Another quarterfinal matchup. Number 7 Hamilton West taking on number 2 Manalapan tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Hamilton West makes their return to the playoffs for the first time since 2019. Like Ewing, they're going to be in search of their first postseason victory since 2016. Hornets got here mainly on the backs of their defense, which has stumbled a bit these last 2 weeks. Gave up 25 against Robbinsville, 30 last week against Ewing. During that same time, though, the offense has been playing at a very high level. 32 points against Robbinsville, 24 last week against Ewing. If you don't count the West Windsor game where they scored 42 and won 42-0, those would be the 2 highest marks of the season. And while Hamilton West defense has faltered these last 2 weeks, they may still be going into this game believing they should be 8-0. 3 losses came against Pemberton thanks to a 4th and 11 touchdown in the final minute. Lost to Princeton by 2, and then last week had about the most heartbreaking of losses you possibly could have in a game that was for the Valley Division title against Ewing. For the Blue Devils, they had a fumble recovery, a scoop and score touchdown at the buzzer as they came back from a 21-7 second half deficit. So Hamilton West fell in that one. So 3 heartbreaking losses for the Hornets. They should definitely probably feel like they could be 8-0. they got to now go out there and prove it against the number 2 seed in this Central Jersey Group 4 bracket. That's going to be a real tough task for Hamilton West. But if the Hornets are going to pull off this upset, they may need to get into a shootout with the Braves, and that might mean that Colin Bressler is going to have to keep playing at the level we've seen him these last 2 weeks. He got over the 1,000 passing yard mark last week, and in his last 2 games, he's 27 of 44, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His deep ball has looked very good here in October, and that becomes even more important now. We're not really sure what the Brian Boswell situation looks like. I'm going to ask Coach Papero about him in just a little bit, but Brian Boswell only got 2 carries last week, so we're going to check on his availability a little later on in this show. But whether Boswell is playing or not, Colin Bressler is going to have to make some big-time throws for Hamilton West to get that first playoff win in 9 years. And they got to do it against this Manalapan team, and that when you look at them, one thing really jumps off the page. They can put up a lot of points. They finished the regular season at 6-3, played in a very difficult Shore Conference B North Division. Their 3 losses were by a combined 5 points. One of them came against Tottenville, a team from New York, another one against Wall, and then another one against Donovan Catholic, those 2 teams are two of the top teams in New Jersey. Offense was held under 22 points only 1 time this year, averaged 28.7 points per game. Junior quarterback Cameron Desfoss, he's electric. He's got a stat line of 84 of 134, 1,457 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 39 carries for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he can spread the ball around. Manalapan has 9 receivers that have caught a touchdown pass this year. 4 of them have over 200 receiving yards, those being seniors DJ Corsero and senior Ryan Melendez, along with juniors Nick Palmieri and Cooper Savage. We talked about what Hamilton West needs to do on offense to pull off this upset, but I don't know if any of that's going to matter if the secondary doesn't have the game of their lives in this one, in this 7-2 matchup in the Central Jersey Group 4 quarterfinals. And one other game to talk about in the postseason, Trenton taking on Sayreville tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the Central Jersey Group 5 quarterfinals. Trenton the 7 seed, Sayreville the 2 seed. And look, I know that Ewing is riding a 7-game win streak. Hamilton West could be 8-0. Steinert's lone loss since week 0 is against Hopewell Valley, and then those Bulldogs have been Mercer County's best all season long. But in my opinion, Trenton is the hottest team heading into the playoffs out of all of them. 3 straight wins over Northern Burlington, Princeton, and then a shutout against Robbinsville in that explosive offense last week. Sometimes in tournaments like this, it's not always the best team who wins. It's the team that hits their stride at the right time. Trenton certainly doing that. The Tornadoes have been very efficient on offense during this 3-game win streak. Keith Williams, their quarterback, 35 of 54, 344 yards, 8 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. Janelle Lintz averaging 117.3 yards per game on the ground in that span. And then wide receiver Ave Ingram coming off the best game of his life, where he accounted for all 4 touchdowns last week, made a career-high 3 touchdown catches, also recovered a blocked punt in the end zone, all of that happening in the first half. And then on defense, that unit has allowed just 36 combined points against 3 really talented offenses in Northern Burlington, Princeton, and Robbinsville. Now going up against the 2nd-seeded Sayreville Bombers, their only loss this season came against Montgomery. Montgomery's the 3 seed in the North Jersey Section 2 Group 4 tournament. Trenton's going to need to continue their efficient play. They got to make smart decisions with the football, pick up some chunk plays, and come up with some timely stops if they want to pull this upset against this Sayreville team, who, if you thought Manalapan could score, they're nothing compared to Sayreville. Bombers averaged 33.4 points per game this year, won the Big Central National Silver Division title. They finished with an 8-1 record. They scored 40 or more points 3 times, 30 or more points 5 times, 25 or more points 7 times. They've got some real impressive wins over North Jersey teams in Piscataway and Colonia. For Sayreville, their philosophy, it's simple. They just want to run you into the ground. As a team, they rushed for 2,745 yards and 34 touchdowns this year. Their bell cow running back is senior Sean Jackson, who has 162 carries for a ridiculous 1,650 yards and 20 touchdowns. He's consistently ranked as one of the best running backs in all of New Jersey. 3 games this year of 200-plus rushing yards, including a 338-yard, 4-touchdown performance on October 10th against Franklin. He's also scored a touchdown in every game this year. And look, I don't know if it's possible, but the Tornadoes' main goal on defense tomorrow night has to be to at least slow down Jackson. The silver lining is that in his last 2 weeks, they've been 2 of the 3 worst of the season by his standards. Only rushed for a mere 150 yards on 10 carries 2 weeks ago against Montgomery, 96 yards last week against St. Thomas Aquinas. If Trenton can't slow down Jackson, they're probably going to have to be prepared to score 35 to 40 points just to keep up. But that'll do it for the New Jersey teams in postseason action this week. A couple other games tonight to let you know about. A crossover game between Robbinsville and Hightstown tonight at 6 o'clock at Robbinsville. The Ravens will be hosting that game. And then Notre Dame taking on Red Bank Catholic. Irish still fighting for a playoff spot in that non-public B tournament. If they're able to pull what would be a major upset against RBC, that would certainly help their chances over in that bracket as well. But all right, do not go anywhere. We've got a pair of interviews when we come back. First, going to be talking with Hopewell Valley head coach Dave Caldwell, and then talk to Hamilton West head coach Mike Papero. All that when we continue next here on the High School Huddle.
Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org.
You're listening to the High School Huddle on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. The High School Huddle is proudly brought to you by the Capital Health System and Anthony Petsis and Associates. Now back to your host, Jordan Hirsh.
Welcome back into the High School Huddle. I am your host, Jordan Hirsh, and now on the line, I've got a very special guest. His Hopewell Valley Bulldogs are getting set to do battle with Neptune tomorrow in the Central Jersey Group 3 quarterfinals right here on WBCB. Head coach of the Hopewell Valley Bulldogs, Dave Caldwell. Coach, how you doing today?
Good. How you doing, Jordan?
Doing good as well. So, Coach, you guys just had another very successful regular season at Hopewell Valley. 7-2 record. You win the WJFL Capital Division. How would you describe your team's regular season?
I think we just gradually improved as the season went along. We evolved as an offense, utilizing our quarterback and allowing him to run the ball a little bit, and also being able to adapt our passing game to adapt to Grayson and his versatility. On defensively, we just continue to get better at the fundamentals, being gap sound and tackling and communicating. And special teams has always been a strength of ours too, to change the game and change field position and get some extra possessions.
Now, many of your players on defense have past playoff experience. How big is it to have guys in the locker room that know what it's like to play in a tournament like this?
I think it's valuable. I think, especially for our seniors that have been there, like we've talked, they've only promised 4 more quarters. So these 4 quarters are very, very meaningful and important, and every play matters. When you go back and you watch a playoff football game, one that you won or one that you lost, you could probably narrow it down to 2 or 3 plays that made the difference in the game. So every play matters, and I think that's the message from our senior players, and I got our guys that have experience, and you see that in how they practice, taking care of the little things, being able to tackle, communicate, and just the fundamentals.
And as a coach, what do you tell the guys like Grayson Vlasic, like Ethan Valenza, who haven't played in a postseason tournament, to help them get prepared for this game?
I just treat it like any other game, to be honest with you. We have to limit the turnovers. That's one. I mean, if you go back and you look at our two losses this year, we turned the ball over too much. So just play like any other game. At the end of the day, it's 48 plus minutes. It's offense, defense, special teams. It's the fundamentals. Just execute the game plan. Do what you've done that got you here, and and just continue to play hard.
And how important is it that Ethan Valenza, he seemingly regained his groove these last 2 weeks, has his two biggest rushing totals since the first couple of weeks of the season. How big is it that he seems to now be playing back at the level he was back in early September?
I think it's important. I think it makes us a dual threat. I think Grayson can throw the ball downfield. Grayson can use his feet. And then with Ethan being able to carry the ball effectively, I think it makes us more multiple on offense, which is fantastic, and hopefully keeps defenses on their heels a little bit. And Ethan's really hit his stride. I think with that little hiccup in the middle of the season, I think we also played some really, really tough opponents that understood and game planned on how to stop what we do a little bit. But I think he's gotten his stride back. You see him how he runs with great vision and ball security. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, you guys certainly have faced some real tough out-of-conference opponents this season. Teams like Montgomery at the beginning of the year, and then Seneca and Burlington Township back-to-back weeks to start October. Do you feel like those games helped you guys get ready for this tournament?
Absolutely. I think when you play tough opponents, I mean, all of the teams that we play are pretty tough. They all, offer, I guess, different ways in which we have to combat and adapt. But Burlington Township, they're ranked in the state, and Seneca is a perennial powerhouse. Us being able to I guess, manage the game and be able to win close games is really important. You go back and look at that Montgomery game; we could have won it in regulation with a field goal. And then you look at the Burlington Township game; it came down to some turnovers in the second half where we lost that game. But I think that playoff-like atmosphere and that playoff-like experience will definitely help us in the postseason.
And what stands out to you most going through film this week about Neptune? What stands out to you most about that team and the way they play?
I mean, beside them being well coached and running a system and athletic, it's the quarterback. He's dynamic. He's a dual threat. He can extend plays with his feet. He can make the big throws downfield. He has, right around 900 to 1,100 yards rushing and 900 to 1,100 yards passing. I don't have the stats in front of me, but, he's the guy that will be difficult to stop. And also on defense, they play that odd front. It's multiple. They send pressure. They're athletic. They tackle well. So they're an 8-1 playoff team, and we have our hands full.
Yeah, Neptune, they feature a very run-heavy offense. Their quarterback, right, Caleb Brown, incredibly mobile, over 1,000 rushing yards this season, 10 touchdowns. Their main true running back, Kingston Pinnock, he's also found the end zone 10 times. He's averaging about 7 yards per carry. How will your defense try to attack those two players in the run game tomorrow?
I mean, we have to be gap sound and disciplined. I mean, we do run a multiple odd front. We're going to have to be able to win the line of scrimmage, communicate effectively, and like I just said, it's about being gap sound. I mean, he's elusive, the quarterback, and he can hurt you with his feet, and he can hurt you throwing the ball. But if we're able to maintain our gaps, win the line of scrimmage, and tackle well, we'll be in the game.
And Neptune, they have one of the better defensive lines in the state. 33 team sacks, 125 team tackles for loss. It almost doesn't seem real, some of the numbers they've put up this year. How has your offensive line been preparing this week to go up against that group? And do you have confidence that they can open up enough holes for Valenza in the run game and then also keep Vlasic protected in the pass game?
I mean, they are very athletic up front, and you look at, I forget exactly their sack numbers. It's almost astounding. You have to go back and double check them because the number of sacks that they have is unbelievable. But I think we've faced odd fronts in Nottingham like this, and also Heightstown like this. I don't think it's not so much the front; it's more the personnel. that we're worried about. I think their athleticism, their quickness, and their I guess their discipline is what concerns us. But I think we just have to win the line of scrimmage. We have to play with great leverage. Great leverage. We have to communicate well on the pressures. We have to be able to cover the pressures that they send and be happy with 4 yards. And if you're able to break a 4-yard run and extend a drive, that's great. I mean, we did that versus Seneca, where I think we went on 2 drives of 10 plus minutes, 16 plus play drives and finished those drives to score touchdowns. So, I mean, it's playoff football. Let's hold on to the football. Let's extend drives. Let's change field positions. And let's score when in the red zone.
And finally, in the postseason, making sure you have all facets of your game working effectively is key, of course. We know how good the offense and defense can be for Hopewell Valley, but the one aspect of a team's game that can get overlooked at times is special teams. How important is it for that unit to take care of business tomorrow?
We take pride in special teams. We put a lot of time, and our special teams coordinator Chris Skolka does a fantastic job with the rest of the staff and making special teams a priority. I'm not sure how many we've gotten back this year, but with our kickoff, we're able to get extra possessions on offense through our kickoff. Luke Hemmer is an excellent punter, changing field position. Just this past week, he had 2 punts of 45 and 40 yards. Last week, he had a punt of 53 yards. The week before, and probably another punt of 55 yards. So his leg strength is able to change field positions as well. And just 2 weeks ago versus Steiner, we kicked a 30-yard field goal going into halftime. So Josh Reinhardt's doing a fantastic job. So I think, and I hope that it continues, that special teams can make a difference in the game. And given the fact that, we put a lot of time into it, we expect to have success there.
All right, Coach. Well, that's all I've got. Thank you so much for taking some time to join me on the show today, and good luck against Neptune tomorrow.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That was Hopewell Valley Bulldog head coach Dave Caldwell, his team hosting Neptune in the quarterfinals of the Central Jersey Group 3 tournament tomorrow, 6 o'clock on WBCB. And do not go anywhere. We've got another interview when we come back. Head coach of the Hamilton West Hornets, Mike Papero, on the other side here on the High School Huddle. Today's show is proudly sponsored by Anthony Petsis and Associates, voted the best financial advisory firm in Bucks County for 13 years by the Bucks County Courier-Times. Anthony Petsis and Associates delivers people-centered advice, empowering you to take control of your financial future with confidence. Their firm is committed to helping your family build and preserve wealth for the next 100 years. If you're interested in becoming a client of the top-rated financial advisory firm in Bucks County, please contact Anthony Petsis and Associates at 215-968-6638. That's 215-968-6638. You can also visit their website at apetsis.com. Anthony Petsis and Associates. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
You're listening to the High School Huddle on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. The High School Huddle is proudly brought to you by the Capital Health System and Anthony Petsis and Associates. Now back to your host, Jordan Hirsh.
Welcome back to the High School Huddle. I am your host, Jordan Hirsh, and now on the line, I've got a very special guest, his 7th-ranked Hamilton West Hornets, getting set to do battle with number 2 Manalapan in the Central Jersey Group 4 tournament tomorrow. Head coach of the Hornets, Mike Papero. Coach, how you doing today?
Doing great, Jordan. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. Now, Coach, you guys go 5-3 during the regular season. Obviously, still that one more regular season game against Steiner on Thanksgiving coming up. But 3 straight 2-win seasons coming into this one, and now you guys get 5 wins this year and end up in the postseason. How would you describe your team's regular season?
It's bittersweet. We have 2 2-point losses and then a heartbreaking loss on a last-second walk-off fumble recovery there. So in our minds, we could very easily be 8-0. So while we're happy to make the playoffs, there is a little bit of that, what could have been. But as a coaching staff, we've been trying to get our team to just keep looking looking through the windshield instead of the rearview mirror. So it's one of those things that, when you sit around and think a little bit, your mind goes off and you're like, man, what could have been? But really, we've moved forward. We're ready for the playoffs. Really proud of these kids. We challenged them in the off season to try to, take this program and turn it into a winner again. And I can't say enough about these coaches. I can't say enough about these kids. So we are happy that we've made the playoffs. We're not content. We are not happy just to be there. We're going in there and we're going to try to shock the world. But we are very proud of our kids and happy with what we've done this regular season.
Now, last week, according to NJ.com, Brian Boswell only 2 carries in the game against Ewing. What is his availability like tomorrow?
We're hopeful. We'll see. We're gonna we've had some injuries all year, and we have that next man up mentality. So we're hopeful, and one way or another, we're going to give them our best shot.
Now, quarterback Colin Bressler, he's had probably his 2 best games of the season these last 2 weeks. What's allowed him to elevate his game late in the year?
He's been doing a good job all year, but he's really making his reads and delivering the football. It's the game moves pretty fast, and sometimes you rely just on how good your arm is when you have an arm like he does. And early on in the year, he would make most of his reads, but then there were times where he would have a little bit of that gunslinger in him, and he would, just throw what might be a decent read, but not the best read. Whereas the past few games, he's not missing many reads. He's making great decisions. He's getting the ball out on time, in rhythm. The offensive line and running backs have been doing a very good job blocking for him, and receivers need to catch the ball, and for the most part they've been. So, it's been a true team effort around him, but he's doing a great job preparing for games with Coach Costello and then going out there and making good decisions.
And in preparing for this game, what have you seen on film from Manalapan that makes them so dangerous?
Well, they're just a typical Shore team. They're big, they're strong, they're not going to make a ton of mistakes. They're going to average 250, 260, 260 pounds up front on the offense and defensive lines. They aren't an overly fast team. They have some speed, but they rely on their size and their strength. Offensively, they're going to try to rock us to sleep. They're just going to run it, and then they're going to take their shots. And, if you watch on film, they catch people that way. They start getting the secondary peeking into the backfield, and then they hit teams for a 40, 50, 60-yard touchdown. So, offensively, they're not going to do anything to confuse us. It's just going to be Shore-style football. They're going to line up. They're going to run their wing T-type offense. They're going to pull some guards. They're going to, have some misdirection, and they're going to say, we're bigger, we're stronger, and we're going to come right at you. Defensively, they actually do a couple more complex things than they do offensively, a couple of the coverages that they run. But again, it's nothing groundbreaking. They're going to run their defense, and they're going to say, okay, we're big and we're strong, and let's see what you can do.
Now, for you guys on defense, how is that defense preparing to go up against this Braves offense that they can wear down teams with that size, right? And they could put up 30 to 35 points any given night.
Yeah, we're not going to sit there and take it. We're going to try to bring the fight to them. And that's something we've done, whether, win or loss this year. We've brought the fight to the opponent, to the offense every game. And that's what our defense is going to do. And, sure, they're bigger than us, and they're probably stronger than us. We're going to be physical. We feel like we can be just as physical. We have a couple wrinkles for them that we, have been working on in practice. So, they don't have bigger hearts than us. They don't have more stronger will than us. We do feel like we are a faster team. So we have some things that we're going to try, and like I said, we're not just happy to be there. We want to go make noise.
And Braves quarterback Cameron Desfoss, he's got a pretty electric arm, nearly 1,500 passing yards this year. He's got a plethora of playmakers at the wide receiver position. 9 different players have caught a touchdown. 4 of them have 200 or more receiving yards. What kind of challenges does that present to your defense, having to go up against a team who has that much talent really all around the field on offense?
Yeah, I mean, and even in their run game, they have like 5 guys that have run for over 200 yards. I mean, so they have plenty of weapons. When it comes to the passing game, we need to stay disciplined. And I mentioned it earlier, we can't be peeking in the backfield. They run play action really well, and we just have to make sure that our defensive backs are, staying in their zone, or when we're playing man, that they're concentrating on their man and not looking at the quarterback. So a lot of it's going to come down to how disciplined we are, and man for man, we can match them, or we're better than them speed wise. But it's going to come down to the mental part of it and the discipline.
And lastly, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is the first playoff game for all the players on your team. As a coach, what is going to be the message to them as they prepare for that first taste of postseason football tomorrow?
We've talked about how, it's, we don't lie to them and say, oh, it's just another game. No, there's something different in the air. There's more on the line, but that doesn't mean that you have to do anything other than just do your job. So we just have been preaching to them, just do your job. This is what we've been working for. Don't be content about just being in the playoffs. And the good thing about football, we don't need to beat Manalapan 6 out of 10 times. We need to beat them 1 time. And there's no reason that we can't. They've done a great job of responding. We've had a great week of practice, but we've let them know that it means a lot to be in the playoffs, but to win playoff games, that's a whole different level, and we think we're ready for that challenge.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join me on the show, and good luck tomorrow against Manalapan.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Well, there you have it. That was Hamilton West head coach Mike Papero, his team preparing to go up against the number 2 seed Manalapan in the Central Jersey Group 4 quarterfinals tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And that'll just about do it for us here on the show today. Thank you so much to all of you who listened on both the radio side and the YouTube side. On the radio side, Glenn Jones is next. For those of you on the YouTube side, consider hopping over to the radio side to give Glenn Jones a listen, and also keep it locked to WBCB Sports on YouTube all weekend long. On top of all this great high school football postseason action, we've got the finals for the CVC tournament in both boys and girls soccer. I'll be on the call for those games on Saturday afternoon, so keep it locked to WBCB Sports all weekend. You don't want to miss a second of any of the coverage that we've got going on over there. Make sure you also keep it locked on the radio side and on the YouTube side tomorrow from 4 to 5 o'clock for Friday Night Hype. Myself and Rich Fisher, we're going to be going all around Mercer County, as well as Neshaminy taking on CB West and previewing and predicting all of those games. Again, that's tomorrow, 4 to 5 on WBCB 1490 AM, 107.3 FM, and on YouTube, WBCB Sports for Friday Night Hype. But until then, I say thank you for listening, and have a great night, everybody.